They messed with the wrong chosen one, and now it's too late to turn back. They thought they could touch you and walk away unscathed. They planned your downfall, conspired in the shadows, plotted against you without any fear, but they were terribly wrong. Because when they rose against you, they rose against God himself. You felt the doors closing, the betrayals multiplying, the disdainful glances surrounding you. They did everything to stop you, used words like sharp blades, tried to suffocate you. But what they didn't know was that every blow they struck against you is now coming back to them. They messed with the wrong chosen one, and the sentence has already been sealed. You questioned yourself, why is all this happening? Why so many injustices? But while you suffered in silence in the invisible realm, something was being prepared. God didn't let anything slip by. What they plotted is crumbling before their very eyes, and now their harvest has come. The turnaround has already begun, and by the end of this video, you'll see what God has already determined about this situation, and what comes next. No one will be able to stop. They were warned, but they ignored it. Heaven gave signs, the Holy Spirit stirred. The time for harvest was delayed countless times, but they persisted in their mistake. They thought they could act without consequences, that divine justice would delay or fail. But now, the spiritual clock has reached the exact point where there's no turning back. What was once hidden is starting to manifest. The shadows that covered their plans are dissipating, and what they did against you can no longer be hidden. Their arrogance blinded them. They laughed, underestimated you, believed they would never be confronted. They built their traps as if they were invincible, as if there were no God who weighs every action and brings every word to light. But they forgot something essential. You are not just anyone. You carry an anointing, a calling, a purpose sealed by the Most High himself. And now everything they tried against you has turned into a decree against them. Every hidden intention, every sly gesture, every whispered betrayal is being brought to light before heaven and earth. They took pleasure in seeing you fall. They fed their own envy, tried to extinguish your light, pushed you to the lowest place. But something inside of you was never extinguished. Even in the hardest moment you knew, something greater was happening behind the scenes. Now, what was once only intuition is becoming reality. God always knew everything, and now he has begun to act in a way that no one will be able to stop. What was done in the dark is coming to the surface. The alliances they made in secret, the poisonous words they threw against you, the destruction strategies they devised, none of this was hidden from the Lord's eyes. The time for deception is over. Their mask can no longer be sustained. And when God begins to reveal, no one can stop it. They tried to silence you, but now it's them who tremble before the deafening silence of divine judgment itself. And the most amazing thing, they still haven't realized what's about to happen. They still believe they can escape, that they can reverse the situation, that everything can be hidden for a little longer. But the sentence has already been decreed, and heaven's justice never fails. The price of rising against a chosen one is greater than they imagine, and now they'll have to pay. They didn't imagine there would be a price. They acted as if they were untouchable, believed their words and actions would disappear in time, like leaves in the wind. But there's one thing that never changes. What you sow, you reap. And when someone touches a chosen one, the weight of the harvest is relentless. They laughed at your suffering, underestimated God's justice, mocked your faith, but now they feel the pressure of something they cannot explain. The environment around them has changed. What once was arrogance is now mingling with fear. The storm has already begun to form. And what many don't realize is that God's justice doesn't come with a fanfare, but as a growing shadow, an invisible weight that no one can remove. They're beginning to lose control. The doors that once were open are now closing. Allies are distancing themselves. Plans are falling apart. Words are losing their strength. The sentence has been determined, and there's no escape. No matter where they try to run, what has been sealed in the heavens will be fulfilled on earth. You noticed this. You felt in your spirit that something was happening, that the wind had changed direction, and it's no coincidence. The one are beginning to see their own shadows turn against them. Every malicious act, every injustice committed, every trap set is now transforming into weight upon their own heads. They tried to hide, disguise, manipulate, but what was launched against a chosen one comes back like a boomerang. This is a spiritual law that no one can revoke. The cursed words they threw against you now echo against them. The persecution they started now imprisons them. They don't realize it, but everything they built on lies and deceit has already begun to crumble, and this ruin cannot be avoided. And what is to come will be even stronger, because the traps they set not only failed, but now they're closing in on them. They didn't expect the very poison to turn back against their mouths. They didn't understand that no one rises against a chosen one and remains standing. And now, the traps they set have already started closing in. But there's something much deeper happening behind the scenes. The traps they set are closing in, and now there's no escape. What was once a game of manipulation, a well-rehearsed play to harm you, is transforming into a cycle of destruction that they themselves created. Every distorted word, every hidden plan, every betrayal orchestrated, it's all turning back on them. What seemed to be working is now reversing, and those who fought so hard to bring you down are feeling the weight of their own choices. But the worst is yet to come. They thought they had control. They believed their schemes were infallible, that they could play with the truth, move pieces as they pleased, without being discovered. But there is no human strategy that can bypass God's justice. What they plotted against you is now turning against them in an inevitable way. Every step they took to harm you has now become a trap for their own feet. They try to hold on, try to reverse the game, but the sentence has already been decreed. You no longer need to fight against this. What is happening now no longer depends on you. It depends only on God. The time for harvest has come, and those who harmed you are feeling the effects of the seed they planted. This is why you notice the energy around you has changed. What once was an affront now has become silence. What once was arrogance now has become restlessness. They know something bigger is happening, but they cannot comprehend it. Those who walked with confidence are now fearful. The words they used to throw without hesitation now come with weight. The easy laughter has been replaced with insecurity, because when God decides to act, even the strongest bend. Now everything they hid is starting to come to the surface. The masks are falling, the allies are dispersing, and the truth is emerging like a blaze that can't be ignored. The time for deception is over, and this is just the first phase of what's about to happen. Because when God starts to reveal, he doesn't stop halfway. There are still hidden secrets that need to be exposed, and what comes next will be even more impactful. They thought they were harming you, but they didn't understand that they were digging their own ruin. Now, the shadows are dissipating, and what will be revealed next will change everything. And now, the truth is being exposed, and they can no longer hide. What once seemed solid, unshakable, is now crumbling before their own eyes. The lies that supported them are falling apart. The alliances they made are beginning to unravel. They tried to bury you, but they forgot that the truth always finds its way to emerge. What was whispered in secret is now being proclaimed aloud, and no matter how hard they try to control the damage, what has been revealed can never be hidden again. The sense of dominance they had has turned into desperation. They try to disguise it, act as if nothing is happening, but the restlessness is evident. What once was confidence is now fear. They feel the exposure coming. They know justice is on the way, but they can't stop it. The game has turned, and now they're the ones looking over their shoulders, waiting for the moment when everything comes to light. Their silence already says so much. The weight of the truth is crushing their consciences. What they did in secret is being brought to light, and this light is too strong to be ignored. People who once believed in them are now starting to see the flaws, the contradictions, the traces they left behind. God is undoing every deception, and what was once distorted is now being corrected. There are no more hiding places. What was thrown against you is returning, and now it's them who are facing the consequences of their own choices. You can feel it in your spirit. It's as if the very environment around you is transforming, as if a veil is being torn before your eyes. What was once confusion is now becoming clarity. You no longer need to prove anything. You no longer need to chase the truth, because now the truth is chasing them. And the impact of this revelation is just beginning. But there's something even bigger about to happen. Because when God exposes, he also acts. And what comes next will not only be an exposure, but a response no one expected. The shock of divine judgment is near, and this time there will be no escape. And the shock of the divine sentence has already begun. They thought everything would go unpunished, that they could go on with their lives as if nothing had happened. But now the answer has come, and what was once arrogance has turned into despair. Heaven's justice doesn't miss its target, and when God decides to act, no human force can stop it. You've already noticed the signs. The scenario has changed. The structures that seemed solid started to crumble, and those who attacked you are now facing what they never imagined. There's no escaping the harvest. What was sown must be reaped, and God does not ignore injustice. The pride that made them rise against you now becomes a weight on their shoulders. You feel in your spirit that something is being moved, that the environment is no longer the same. Their strategies failed, their manipulations lost their effect, and the time for accountability has arrived. And the scariest part? They know this. But no matter how much they try to escape, the sentence is already in progress. Everything that once worked for them has now turned against their own lives. The doors they used to shut you in are now closing on them. The allies who supported them are starting to distance themselves. The words they used to attack you are now condemning them. The time of arrogance is over, and now they are tasting their own trap. God has always been watching everything. He simply waited for the right moment to act, and that moment has arrived. The silence around them is not by chance. There's an invisible weight, a greater force that is already at work. They feel it but can't explain it. What once was security has now turned into unease. What once was dominance has now transformed into fear. They can no longer walk with the same confidence because they know something is pursuing them. Divine judgment does not come with human warning, but its arrival is inevitable. But this is just the beginning, because when God begins to weigh his hand, he doesn't stop until everything is completed. What has begun will be finished, and those who challenge the chosen one will feel the full impact of this sentence. And God's hand is weighing down. There is no escape. And now God's hand is weighing down. There is no escape. They tried to flee from the consequences, tried to disguise, tried to go on as if nothing was happening, but the weight of the sentence has already reached them. Everything that once seemed stable is now crumbling before their very eyes. There is no logical explanation for what is happening, but their spirit already feels what is behind it. The unease grows, the spiritual pressure increases, and what once was certainty has now turned into chaos. What is happening is not a coincidence. You've noticed how things started changing without warning, how those who once attacked you are now silent, trying to understand what went wrong. But it wasn't bad luck, it wasn't coincidence. It was God himself stepping in. He endured, he waited, he observed every detail. But now, justice is being established, and no one can resist the weight of divine justice. They took pleasure in seeing you suffer, but now they're tasting the bitter flavor of their own wickedness. What they threw against you is now coming back at them with double force. The doors they used to bring you down are now closing on them. What once was arrogance has now turned into fear. They try to understand why everything suddenly started going wrong, but the truth is nothing changed suddenly. It was simply the exact time for the harvest. Now they face a reality they never imagined. People who once supported them are beginning to distance themselves. Plans that seemed infallible are beginning to fail. They try to fix things, but there's no fixing what's been judged by God himself. The time for correction has arrived, and the sentence is already in progress. And the most surprising thing, they still haven't understood what's coming. Because what they did to you is coming back to them, but it hasn't reached its peak yet. Divine judgment is progressive, and each passing day, the weight becomes greater. They thought they could manipulate the facts, that they could escape without paying the price. But now, they're about to discover what happens when someone challenges a chosen one, and what's coming next will be even stronger. And now, what they did to you is coming back to them with a weight they never imagined. In the beginning, it seemed like just a series of small losses, unexpected twists, but now the harvest has intensified. What was once just a warning has now turned into an inescapable cycle. They try to take a step forward, but are pulled back. They try to rebuild what was lost, but everything collapses before their eyes. And deep down, they feel that something much bigger is at work. Every injustice, every betrayal, every word thrown against you is now returning as a precise strike. They didn't expect their actions to have such severe consequences. They thought they could hurt you and move forward as if nothing had happened. But there's something they ignored. God does not remain silent in the face of a chosen one's pain. What they planted didn't get lost in time. It's simply bearing fruit in the appointed time, and the appointed time has come. Now, those who mocked are tasting their own poison. They feel the weight of their own malice, but don't know how to escape. What once was control is now disorder. The doors they used to lock you in are now sealed against them, and the affliction begins to grow because deep down they know this didn't come by chance. This came from above. They are facing something that their human strength cannot fight. And this is the difference between human justice and God's justice. Men can lie, they can manipulate, they can create strategies to escape, but before divine judgment, there are no loopholes. Each one is confronted with their own actions. Each one reaps exactly what they have sown. And now they see this happening with a chilling clarity. The fear grows because there's nowhere to run. What has started can no longer be interrupted. But this is still not the final phase, because God not only makes justice, He also exalts those who were persecuted. What is happening to them is just part of the plan. Now, the time has come for something even greater to happen. Because God makes sure to honor His chosen, and your exaltation is closer than you think. And now you will be honored in front of your enemies. They tried to erase you, diminish you, make your story forgotten. But God does not allow a chosen one to be shamed. The same scenario where they tried to humiliate you will be the stage for your exaltation. The name they tried to tarnish will be remembered with honor. The destiny they tried to stop will be fulfilled with glory. And the most impactful part, they will have to watch it all unfold without being able to stop it. You don't need to retaliate, you don't need to seek revenge. The answer is already coming from above. God not only makes justice, He also restores, He repays, He rewards. Everything they tried to take from you, He is returning multiplied. What was interrupted, He is releasing. And those who once celebrated your downfall, now will have to see your rise. What God is about to do will not be discreet, it will not be hidden, it will be public, it will be notorious. Those who doubted your calling will have to recognize what God has placed upon you. They will have no choice but to admit they were wrong. Those who said you wouldn't make it will see you go farther than they imagined. They gathered to plan your downfall, but now they are being forced to watch your elevation. God hasn't just sustained you, He's placed you at a level that no one can reach. And it's not just about restoration, it's about purpose, about destiny, about fulfilling promises. God does not allow a chosen one to stay stagnant. He even uses persecution to propel you to a new level. And now what they tried against you will serve as a stepping stone to take you even higher. Those who laughed before are now silent. Those who tried to imprison you now see you fly. Because what God establishes, no one can prevent. But there is still something more, because when God exalts, he also silences every tongue that rises against his. You've already seen his justice being done, you've already felt the change around you. But now the time has come for the final verdict, because no tongue that rose against you will remain, and the judgment is about to be concluded. And now no tongue that rose against you will remain. Every cursed word thrown against your life is being annulled by God's power. Every accusation, every defamation, every attempt to destroy your credibility, it's all being undone. They tried to stain your story, discredit your calling, diminish you in front of others. But now divine justice has already reached them. What was said against you is now turning against them, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. They thought they could manipulate narratives, distort facts, deceive those around them, but they forgot that the truth can never be erased. The time of lies is over. Now it's them who face the weight of their own words. What they once used to weaken you now chases them. Every slander thrown against you has become a stone in their own path. What God has determined, no one can revoke. You no longer need to justify yourself. God is proving who his true chosen is. Those who pointed at you are now being exposed. Those who judged you are now being judged. And those who tried to stain your name now see their own reputation crumbling. They built their lies like a house of cards, and now everything is coming down. The time for truth has arrived, and no one can escape what has been decreed by heaven. And the most impactful part? God doesn't just justify you, he places you in a place where no one will be able to touch you. The one who was humiliated will be exalted, and the one who tried to destroy now sees they lost the battle. The wind has changed, and now you are not only being restored, but elevated to a new level. Nothing can bind you to the past. What they tried against you no longer has power, but God is not done yet, because when he acts, he finishes every cycle perfectly. The judgment has been established, the truth has been revealed, but now the time has come for the final act of this sentence. What God is about to do will change everything, and this time no one can stop it. Now you have been placed at a new level, and they cannot reach you. God has elevated you in a way that no one can tear you down. Those who tried to imprison you, those who conspired against you, now find themselves powerless in the face of what God is doing in your life. What once seemed impossible, what seemed unattainable, is now your reality. The battlefield has shifted, and now you are on the ground where victories are certain. They expected you to stay in the same place, that the attack would stop you from moving forward. But what they didn't understand is that God uses the struggle to take you to higher places. Every pain you faced, every injustice you suffered, was preparation for the great exaltation that is happening now. You are no longer at the same level. The path of pain is now the path to glory. And everything they tried to stop you, God used to launch you to the top. They tried to keep you in the past, limit you with their lies and manipulations, but God has placed you in a position where even hell itself cannot touch you. The wind of change blew strong, and now you are an unstoppable force. You are no longer a prisoner of circumstances, other people's opinions, or malicious intentions. God didn't just give you victory. He has placed you in a position where you will never be brought down again. The most surprising part of all this, there's still more to come. What you've experienced so far is only the beginning. God is just starting to release the blessings, restore everything that was lost, and place you in a position where you will be a reference for others. What he is doing in your life now is just preparation for what is to come. And when you look back, you will realize something powerful. Everything they tried against you only made you stronger. They didn't know it, but they were preparing you for something much greater. And now, before their eyes, you will see the true exaltation that God had prepared for you from the beginning. The best is still to come, and no one can stop it. You have been chosen, and now it's time to see the manifestation of what God has already prepared for you. Nothing and no one can stop what God is doing in your life. If you feel the strength of this truth, write in the comments, "No one can stop what God started in me." Leave your mark, share your faith, and if this video touched your heart, like it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any messages of transformation. The Chosen One's journey is just beginning and you won't want to miss it. God bless you and see you in the next video.